Hey, all you literary legends and luminaries. I'm Julie, and welcome to Booksmart. This week's book is an in-your-face look at human behavior. It's called You're Making Me Hate You, a cantankerous look at the common misconception that humans have any common sense left, by Corey Taylor. So who is Corey Taylor, you ask? Well, he's this guy, the lead singer of Stone Sour and Slipknot. Yet the guy on the cover doesn't look much like the guy in the video. The book is almost 10 years old. It was published in 2015. Through Glass, which this is what this is from, came out in 2006. Let me provide a little context as to why I bought the book. I found You're Making Me Hate You at my used bookstore, and it was still sitting there months later when I went back. Because I have fond memories of this guy, I bought the book. Through Glass was the song I rocked my son to every afternoon at 1 o'clock. He was going on 3 by then and had gone down to only 1 nap a day, but he was such a good little napper. He'd sleep for almost 2 hours. I got so much done in that 2 hours. I'd clean, and he was the type of kid who slept through anything, so I could vacuum right outside his bedroom door and could turn on my music. I'd write, I'd bake, I did anything I wanted to or anything I needed to in those 90 minutes without worrying about a toddler at my feet. We read books before bedtime, so before nap time, I'd rock him. This was a very bad decision on my part because I myself had the arm strength of a toddler. So by the time he was 2, I didn't like carrying him for long periods of time. And the version of Through Glass that I bought, yes, I bought it. I still download songs I like from Amazon and pay for them legitimately. I refuse to use a streaming service for my music at home. These are my songs that I want to add and remove from my playlist at any whim, that I want to have access to without logging in or needing an internet connection or another stupid app or having to listen to ads or deal with an app that thinks it knows what I want to listen to. Anyway, the version I downloaded was 4 minutes and 43 seconds long. And that's a long time to rock a toddler when you have no arm strength. I think I have a permanent kink in my shoulder from rocking my son every afternoon to that song. My son always chose that song. It was his favorite. When the song gets to the part where it goes, and it's the stars, that part, I dip my son and spin him around, which made him giggle every time. I'm getting shoulder pains just thinking about it. I also love Bother. When I searched through my music, I had also bought Say You'll Haunt Me and Slipknot Snuff. Obviously, I like their more mild stuff. I don't secretly rock out to Slipknot while wearing a scary mask. Another reason I bought the book, I've got a cat in the way, is that Taylor is from Des Moines. I was born in Iowa. My grandparents lived in Iowa. I even lived in the Des Moines area for a few years, so I have quite the connection to Iowa. Mostly only fond memories. A book written by someone who's not a New Yorker always gets my vote, so I had to read Taylor's book. Not that you needed to know any of that, but because of my Through Glass memories, I thought I would find delight in Taylor's book. Perhaps delight is not the right word to use for this book. I guess even the cover kind of gives it away. I still can't see this guy in this guy. You're Making Me Hate You is like the unscholarly version of Chuck Klosterman, the version of Klosterman who suffers from a swearing compulsion, the version of Klosterman who just wants to tell stories about himself with little information connecting said experiences to the global good. Just because so many people who write book reviews on Amazon get upset about profanity, well, let me forewarn you, there's a lot of swearing. I don't mind the swearing, but I don't like anything that is gratuitous. And at times, Taylor's swearing felt gratuitous. So what Taylor has done in his book is take everyday experiences and rants about them, and rant some more. Here's a paragraph that kind of sums up why he's going to rant in this book. Be aware, there's some swearing in here, as there's going to be in every chunk I read. It really doesn't help our cause that there are giant constructs designed to lure the platypuses to the fuckfest. Sodom and Gomorrah had nothing on the cities drawing the disease to their bosoms. Vegas, LA, South Padre, South Beach, New Orleans, Austin. America may not have the patent on the urban need to pub crawl, but they have definitely upped the ante in a lot of ways. It's the red, white, and blue way. Take something that may have been designed for joy and pleasure, inject it with steroids and bacon grease, throw a grenade in it, and build a giant adult theme park as a beacon for the soiled, charging way too much as they make us pay with something other than money. Sometimes it just really sucks to be American, especially when I know just how much potential this country has for greatness and acceptance. But I don't dwell. I just make voodoo dolls. Someday soon, those things are going to work. So his premise is essentially that we're acting stupid and we need to stop. He also admits to his own stupidity at times and even talks directly to the reader, which I didn't much care for, but I'll get to that in a second. Topics that Taylor writes about: airports, people's fashion choices, other people's children, Justin Bieber, Avril Lavigne, and Nickelback, dumb drivers, overindulgence in food and money and stupid stuff we buy, relationships, and anger, obviously. Many of his stories are just that, the kind of ramblings that you are forced to listen to at parties by someone who's had a bit too much to drink and think everything they say is of utmost importance. That's not a slam on Taylor's ideas, but a criticism on his writing style. Because really, there's some good stuff in here. If you sift out the tangents and the unnecessary crap, Taylor's got some good observations on human behavior. And considering this was published 9 years ago, we've only gotten 1,000 times worse as a society. Here's a paragraph about how we need to pay attention to the world around us. And yes, as you can imagine, there's more swearing in it. So he says, in closing this chapter, let me just gently point you in the right direction. Pay attention when you're out and about in this world we all share. Be aware of what's going on and savvy about your actions. Start with something simple like, oh, I don't know, hurry the fuck up when you're crossing the street. I mean that. You all just sort of saunter from corner to corner like you don't know where you are. It's not funny anymore. All you have to do is jog 5 feet and you're already halfway there. There is more of a coast-to-coast problem, as in California, where people are too busy posing, and in New York, where people just ignore you. But it's spreading all over the world at an alarming rate. You wander out into oncoming traffic with your stupid faces buried in your cell phones, texting or talking or otherwise, acting like what you're doing is far more important than the rest of the millions of lives being held up by your inactivity. Stop texting. The person you're communicating with isn't going to laugh at your joke or the smiling fucking face you send them. Stop talking. Your conversation is not that essential to anyone's life, including your own. Cross the goddamn street so we can all take care of our own bullshit. If you like being yelled at, you'll enjoy this book. I don't like being yelled at, so I didn't enjoy Taylor's narrative choice of breaking his story to talk to the reader. Sometimes he makes sure he appreciates his readers, that we are the smart ones, but then later he just tells us that we're all stupid. I just didn't care for that type of writing. It felt at times that I was reading just a draft of a book, not the final polished one. Other pieces of the book I didn't like. For one, Taylor on multiple occasions is talking smack about another musician. He leaves us some breadcrumbs, but refuses to name the celebrity he is mocking. I fell for it the first time and went online to try to find out who it was, but only found an old Reddit where the posters were also trying to figure it out, but couldn't find out who Taylor was talking about. I didn't fall for that again. Here's the thing. If you're going to criticize somebody, you really should have the guts to name who it is, or don't do it at all. Readers love inside jokes, but if it's a joke that literally only the author knows, it's no fun. It just irritates your readers. He did name a few that he didn't like Avril Lavigne. I always thought she was darling, but what do I know? And of course, Nickelback. I don't understand the contempt for them. It reminds me of the contempt people had for Winger in the late 80s. Not that I was a fan, but then I wasn't a real big fan of any hero bands. But I'm guessing Nickelback and Avril Lavigne are musicians that Stone Sour and Slipknot fans on the whole don't like. Another thing Taylor did in his book that I didn't much care for were some of his topic choices. Driving, really? Who doesn't have a horrible driving story about the idiots out there? Such choices felt a little pedantic and somewhat of a waste of space, especially when it went on and on. Yet there are some profound golden nuggets within all that ranting that made the book worth reading. Here's one on the chapter about other people's kids. Towards the end of the book, Taylor gets a wee bit more sentimental with deeper topics and draws more profound conclusions. Here's one of those in regards to parenting. And yes, as you can imagine, there is some swearing in it. But that little time I get with them, his kids, I try to be the best dad I can, whether that means playing with them, teaching them, or keeping them in check. This shit is hard, man. It's not easy being a good parent. It's a lot of work. That's why not everybody takes the time to do it. Sure, they'll fuck like buddies and have the kids so they can post shitty selfies with their baby in the background, but they won't raise it right, feed it right, treat it right, and they won't give a fucking shit because it has nothing to do with them. Selfishness is breeding our children into ungrateful monsters, and there's only so much I can do about it. But you just wait. Someday you're going to turn around because you need something from your kids or someone else's kids. You'll show up at a store or the DMV or the airport And you know what you're going to get? You're going to get a fucking adult who acts like a teenager because they weren't taught early on to respect and be responsible. You're going to need them to help you, like really help you. You're going to need someone to take care of you. You're going to need someone smart and savvy and supportive because you can't do a lot for yourself anymore. You're going to look to this generation, a generation raised through glass and watered on pitiful liquids, and ask for help. You're going to ask them to be people and act like people who care. You're going to need empathy. You're going to need intelligence. You're going to need some fight other than fists and madness. You're going to think about how you raised your kids and how your friends raised their kids, and you're going to get worried. You'll hope and pray that things will be okay. You're going to need help. You're going to need your kids to be someone that, unfortunately, you didn't raise them to be. You're going to need them to be stronger and better than you raised them to be. You're going to close your eyes, whisper please, and turn around, reaching out with a hand that needs desperately to feel warmth, safety, and strength. You're going to need that help from your son or daughter, or son and daughter. You're going to turn around, and no one's going to be there. And it will be your fault. That's some heavy stuff. And you have to admit that he's right. You're making me hate you will make you laugh, roll your eyes, and sigh. Much of what he says is relatable, although how he writes the material maybe isn't always so relatable. I giggled at his refusal to watch Titanic simply because it was one of those movies that everyone was going to see, and Taylor didn't want to be part of everyone. My husband was the same way. He never has watched the whole movie, only some scenes where he's been in the living room if I have it on the TV. I'm assuming if you are a Stone Sour fan and or a Slipknot fan, you probably have already read the book. So for those of you who have no idea who Corey Taylor is, should you read the book? If you don't mind the swearing, sure, read the book. I think I would have liked the book better had I not read so much of it in one chunk. I was about 80 pages in when I was getting my roots done. I sit in my salon chair for about 3 hours, so I only take reading breaks when my head is in the sink. I'm one of those people who read and not play on my phone during such times. Taylor's ranting got to be a bit much for me in that length of time, and I might have enjoyed it more in smaller chunks. So take that into account should you read it. Yes, his tone is a bit pompous at times, but so are so many other authors. Just maybe not so much swearing. This is his third book, so I'm guessing it might not be as strong as his first two. That's not a slam on him, but that kind of seems to happen sometimes with authors. I didn't care for the David Sedaris book I reviewed on Booksmart months ago. Had I read one of his first books, I might have enjoyed it. If I stumble upon one of Taylor's first two books, I might just buy it, simply because he's got enough insights to make it worthwhile. And his tone, even if you grow a bit tired of it, will always keep your attention. Thanks for watching. As always, my goal at Booksmart is to get a little bit smarter one book at a time.
Don't know how much time has passed. Oh God, it feels like